My family was out in the streets waving the American flag after 9/11. We had lived in an apartment somewhere in Woonsocket, and we were just absolutely devastated, right? Because this is our new home, and how dare these people? We didn't think of them as these Muslims. How dare these people come and do this on this soil? And how barbaric and how unjust and all of these things. And we were out there waving American flags as cars drove by and honked.
Welcome to the Immigrant Experience in America, an immigrant human library, where we amplify and humanize the experiences of immigrants in the United States and around the world. Listen in as we add another story to our immigrant human library. So I wonder, Aicha, you're a very busy woman, right? Very busy career woman. You're doing so much. How do you manage the pressures of responsibility that comes with being a first generation immigrant, high achieving immigrant woman? You're working full time, you're starting your business, running your business, you're a married woman, responsibilities that comes with, people back home, other ties that you may have. How do you manage all that?
Mm-hmm. I manage it in one way primarily, and I'll just take you through a quick example to frame it. I often take my clients through an exercise that I call the 3 Ps. And the purpose of the exercise is to figure out what your energy anchors are. And your energy anchors are, quite simply put, just those things that fuel you, that ignite you, that give you the boost and the power that you need when you need it the most. And so I call them the 3 Ps because they're, what makes you feel positive, what makes you feel proud, and what makes you feel progressive. And sometimes there are common threads. There's a connective tissue between those three things. And sometimes there's three completely different things. Like what makes me feel progressive is achieving, reaching milestones. What makes me feel proud is knowing that I'm a good daughter and a good family member to my siblings. Right. So once I learn to define those things for myself, I then anchor my activities in those things when I need it the most. So that's how I stay somewhat sane. Is I know that an energy anchor for me is my family, spending time with my nieces and nephews specifically. I got 13 of them and one on the way. We got a little one in the bun. I'm so excited to meet him, God willing. But those guys are my life. I love those guys. I love spending time with them. They range from, well, one in the bun all the way to 22. And they all were born and raised here. Such good kids. I mean, amazing kids. And they're funny. They have great personalities. I spend a lot of time with them when I'm feeling a little depleted. Another one that's an energy anchor for me is faith and prayer. So prayer and meditation. I feel very out of whack, very off balance when I don't pray and I don't meditate. I mean, it's like my entire being is created for worship, in my opinion. And when I'm not aligned with that, my being tells me I'm not aligned with it, right? It definitely start getting the anxious, anxiety, or jittery, all these things. So it manifests for me. I would say those are probably my two biggest energy anchors and how I just bring myself back down to earth, feet on the ground.
Yes, yes, very good, very good. As you mentioned praying in your most recent response, I wonder, I've been looking for somebody to ask this question. So, because I'm really intrigued. I know the US, it's a complexity of when it comes to religion, right? It's a Christian country. You're obviously of the Muslim faith or Islamic faith. I hope I say that correctly. And I wonder this whole idea of religion and the immigrant experience, and how have you been able to navigate that here in the US, and the impact of whether it's colonialism, how do you express your immigrant self, your religious immigrant self here, and are you able to do that confidently, or struggles you've had over the years?
Another excellent question by the amazing Simone. This one makes me adjust, as you can see, right? My discomfort is manifesting physically because it's one that is so complex and has a lot of emotions tied to it. The emotions being discomfort, number one, sometimes fear of judgment, fear of being misunderstood. As a Muslim person in this country, I would say it was butter before 9/11. And I don't have, you can imagine for many reasons why that's the case. But the attack on the Twin Towers on 9/11 and other places in the United States completely changed what it meant for me to walk proudly and openly in my faith for a little while. Luckily, it changed not too long after that. But my family was out in the streets waving the American flag after 9/11. We had lived in an apartment somewhere in Woonsocket, and we were just absolutely devastated, right? Because this is our new home, and how dare these people, we didn't think of them as these Muslims, how dare these people come and do this on this soil, and how barbaric and how unjust, and all of these things. And we were out there waving American flags as cars drove by and honked it. And we watched as, whatever you may think about him, President George W. Bush go on national television, and I'm paraphrasing, but say something as noble as, our struggle is not with Muslim people, it's with Islamic radicals, right? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. These people are absolutely out of control. And then it wasn't too long after that you started seeing, the brutality, the prejudice, the misunderstandings, the violence towards Muslims, but more importantly, people who looked Muslim, people who veiled, people who were brown, people who didn't necessarily look like me, because I walk down the street and you may never know that I'm a practicing Muslim because I don't veil. I don't exercise that particular choice for me, not yet anyway. And so things took a very quick, drastic turn. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, the same person who was waving the American flag now feels like they don't belong in this country. At least they don't belong if they stand within the fullness of being themselves. And so that was many years, right? It was many years until things started to take a little bit more of a turn. I started, experiencing a little bit more understanding. I still wouldn't in the workplace proclaim that I'm a Muslim or anything like that, but I would listen closely to the conversations and I'd see, not everybody's like that. Not everybody, has all these kind of really negative feelings attached to Islam. Some people know that every religion, unfortunately, goes through these weird convulsions of extremists that decide to take it upon themselves to represent an entire faith. So difficult. Sorry, I know that's a bit of a long-winded answer. I apologize. I'll come to a quick stop here, but I'm happy to be on the other side of it. And it took a few good people to demonstrate to me that not everyone's going to judge you for being a practicing Muslim, for me to get to a place where I would take my prayer mat to work with me and I would find a private room and pray while I'm at work. And so today I stand in the fullness of myself, no matter where I am. I'm a proud Muslim. I talk about it, I speak about it. And whoever has questions, most importantly, if I don't know the answer to it, I'll direct you to someone who does. But I want people to know what Islam actually really is about, because 2 days ago, we celebrated a holiday that most of the world doesn't know we celebrate. We celebrated a holiday marking when Noah from the Bible, when his ark finally landed atop a mountain. It's a sacred holiday for Muslims.
Really? Tell me more.
Sacred holiday for Muslims. Yeah. Yeah. It's called Ashura. It's a holiday called Ashura. And because we revere all of the Jewish prophets from the very beginning of creation, Adam, peace be upon him, all the way to what we call Isa in the Arabic word, but Jesus, peace be upon him, and we say peace be upon him on all of them. It's disrespectful to not say that. To Noah, to Joseph, to every single one of them that you know, and that I know, and that the Jews know. We revere all of them. And this particular holiday is about, marking as a special, the day when basically God decided that we might be worth another shot as a human race. And the ark finally landed atop that mountain. And so we celebrate that by fasting. And I believe the Jews have a similar, they fast on that day as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. So all of these things, we, right before that, celebrated a holiday that marks when Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son, right? In obedience to God. We call that Eid al-Adha. And so we have all these like language again, right? You have 2 billion Muslims who know what this means, and then many, many, many more people who don't know that we're celebrating these things that actually really do pull us all together as sister faiths, at least amongst the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims.
Yes, and that's beautiful. That's why we exist here as a podcast, to share information. Because I have found throughout my lifetime of travel, of being exposed to people from other cultures, other countries, oh my gosh, it broadens your mind. It changes you. And the sad part about it is, people who hold certain perspectives or tend to be stuck with certain beliefs about people, they tend to not be exposed or, have ignorance about groups of people, why they hold certain perspectives. And so information always frees, always opens up, always, just bringing in the light, that's amazing. So I'm glad you are sharing that, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I've never studied the different religions, but I know Muslim, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are there's similarities there, right? And
More than people realize. That's the thing. It's like the world would be a richer place if we all really understood the depth to which there are similarities. But it's easier to just highlight the 2-3 things that, tear us apart, essentially.
Thanks for sharing that. So Aicha, I'm wondering if you shared a bit about being able to bring your prayer mat to work, and the fact that you're not necessarily externally or visibly showing up as Muslim, right? But I wonder, outside of that, have you been able to show up as your authentic immigrant self at work, socially, in your communities, whatever space you find yourself? Do you feel like you can bring Senegalese, Gabonese, whatever culture that is your roots and who you are? Do you feel like you have to adjust that, or do you show up as your authentic immigrant self?
I would be dishonest if I said I didn't have to adjust it a little bit. Not everybody's ready for the full assault of all the things that is your culture. Yeah. Like I may not bring my salted fish to work. I might hold that for 15 years from now when you're ready for more pungent tastes and things like that, right? We all have like these foods that we love that are part of our culture that we're like, nah, y'all ain't ready for this just yet. But when it comes to other things, I would say, yes, I am so happy to be in a place in life. And it's a journey. I didn't just wake up and decide I was going to show up in the sort of fullness of myself. But I think the journey essentially was just deciding that I don't conform to this at all. Like, I'll give you a very small example, but big in that sometimes it's these little things that kind of typify who we are. And for me, it's like color and fashion, for example. I come from a country where the colors are loud, they are bold, they are vibrant, and they're an extension of yourself. I mean, the more plumage and beautiful the colors, the better. And I stepped into corporate settings and everybody was wearing black and gray and navy blue. And I was like, I don't like this. But I said, when in Rome, do as the Romans. And so I spent a couple of weeks wearing black, gray, and navy blue. And then I was like, I don't know, something's got to give. So one day I just was like, I'm gonna wear my red heels today. So I wore my red heels and I walked into the office. Oh, nice shoes, and I'm like, is this like a real nice shoes or like a nice shoes? This is kind of strange that you're wearing this here. First time in corporate settings, I didn't really know what to think. But something in my heart said, assume the best out of people. So I was okay, cool. I'm going to keep wearing my nice shoes. And so I started wearing more elaborate looking shoes. And then it started working its way from the bottom up. And next thing you know, I'd show up in floral dresses. I tend to be a little bit of a girly girl. And so I'd wear my bright colors and I'd literally be a peacock in an office full of, but what was so funny, Simone? slowly but surely. I remember the first instance I actually realized it. A coworker of mine, I worked in a cubicle. She had a nice office. She was a director. Her name's Martha. She walks out and she goes, Aicha, look. And she points to her feet and she's got a pair of red heels on. And she goes, you like my shoes? I go, I love your shoes. You look great, you know? And as small of a human moment as that seems, who knows how long that woman had spent wanting to wear those shoes and not wearing those shoes. Like decades, probably, because she was older than me, gorgeous, older than me. And I think it was just that moment that I realized, like, oh, okay, like this could be something. And over time, you just started to see more and more people. Maybe it was a floral lapin or a little yellow shirt under the blue blazer, you know, or whatever. But color started coming around, and it's a small win. But I think when you are able to show up in the fullness of yourself, you give other people the permission to do the same, and then you shape culture around you. And so to go back to your question, yeah, I feel like I can do that, and that was really reifying for me. And it was something as small as fashion, but it was a part of my culture that I insisted upon actually embodying, and it changed culture. So for all of our immigrant brothers and sisters, I say, please bring the best of yourself and the best of your culture. Bring warmth to meetings. It's another thing that's really strange to me. You know, the overly concision and brevity of corporate settings. That's not who we are. In fact, if you did that with your family, you probably get one across the back of the head. You know what I mean? So why do we treat other people like this? Say hello, greet people, how are you? And mean it. Ask about their family, you know, of course, be HR aware, but be human first. And then you create a warm environment around you. And, you know, I think our culture is such an important part of that.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing. Wow. So has it been worth it, Aicha? Like leaving Senegal and all that richness of being immersed, all of the challenges with language and the culture and religion and other things. Has it been worth it for you moving away from your home, your roots?
Good question. I'd love for you to ask me that in 20 years.
Oh, okay, okay.
When I've done what I'm setting out to do, which is to hopefully leave this country, this place, this world. I know it sounds so lofty, but it's in my heart a better place than I found it. Because I truly believe that it's only worth it if I use the gift of having been able to immigrate, start a new life, become more economically independent. If I use that gift to make the world a better place than I found it, then it would have been worth it. But I paused because I realized the blessing in being here, despite how difficult the journey has been. And I think about people like my cousin who, you know, never had the opportunity to leave, right? And they're surrounded by love and happiness and a completely different set of good feelings, but the economic freedom isn't there. That's a reality for a lot of us, you know. As much as we love our homes, we know that economic freedom is restricted. And here, you know, in the land of opportunity, though there are many a barrier, you have just a little bit of an easier chance at economic freedom. So is it worth it? It remains to be seen. I hope so.
Right.
I sure hope so.
Right, right. And I guess the other follow-up question was, how has it shaped you into the person that you are today? I wonder.
Yeah. It has made me ever grateful because I have been able to see both sides, where I thought the grass was greener and where it is always greener on the other side. So I've had the privilege of seeing both and knowing that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You got to water it. You got to plant the seeds. You got to do all those things. And so that's how it has shaped me. I think sometimes my people have a misconception of how easy it is to be in the United States. You know, We're
Yeah.
sometimes money sending machines, and we are there to solve every problem of someone back home. They lose touch with understanding how hard we have to work to have
Yeah.
what little we have here, you know? I didn't know what stress was. I mean, I was also a kid, but a lot of people back home my age like don't really know what stress is until you come here and you're sort of crushed under the weight of the hamster wheel. Go, 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 go. And so I've learned to have appreciation that when I'm home, I'm just like enjoying what it's like to be a bit untethered from all of these responsibilities of what it means to be an immigrant in the United States. But when I'm here, I'm also ever aware of I'm working really hard, but at least I have the option to,
Yes.
you know,
Right. Right.
and I can make a difference for people in my vicinity and certainly for my family back home as well.
Yes. Yes. Context and perspective, right?
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
from both sides. So it said that success leaves clues, and I wonder, what do you know now that you wish you would have known at the start of your journey?
I wish I had known the strength of my identity earlier. I
Mm,
feel that I wasted a lot of my teenage years worrying about who I was, who am I gonna be, what side do I pick, you know, all of these things, right? And it sounds really silly, but to 14-year-old me, you had to pick a side, you know, you gotta be African fully, or you gotta be African American fully, or you know, you gotta be a nerd fully. I was also a band geek, and that didn't help at all. But I love my trombone and my French horn. So I wish I hadn't spent so much time caring about how other people saw me and defined me and what categories they wanted to put me in. I wish I had had the strength of saying, I am my mother's daughter. It's as simple as that. Took me too long.
wow, but that's so deep. Sorry. That's so,
No, no. So,
yes, that's so deep. Yes, and I'm taking that in because I'm walking that out too, because I know whether it be, I came when I was here, I was like when I came, I was 128 pounds and I was healthy. And I just remembered after a while thinking that I was fat and
mm,
I was this thin, healthy girl. I was happy at home, surrounded by family and cousins and healthy environments. And just once you're here, the environment can be, it can just seep in
mhm.
and cause you to really question who you are at the core. And so, whatever you can do to, whether it's brace yourself, whether it's, what's the word? Create a buffer between that outside and
Yes.
guarding who you are and your belief in yourself, your family's belief in who you are, that healthy part of you, and
Yes.
not letting stuff just come in and erode that,
That
But
part.
that's so deep. Yeah, because it can really, because then you get older and then you realize, my goodness, I've lost a lot of time.
So much time. So and you can't I watch my nieces and nephews go through the same things and you can't save them from themselves, and perhaps I never would be who I am if I didn't go through that, right? That's the other thing about God's grace and his path. But you certainly wish you could just like give them that jolt to know, like, don't waste your time doing this, you're going to regret this someday. But the journey is the journey. I think one thing that's really important, Simone, for all of us, I know it is for me, was having that anchor that reminds you of who you're supposed to be, even if you don't know who you are today, because who you are changes. Like it's always in flux. You know, your core values don't, but you know how you manifest them change. But even when I didn't know who I was, my mother always anchored me to who I was supposed to be. And that
Mhm.
was always sort of my Polaris. That was always my North Star. So if we can give our children that at the very minimum, they might do a lot of zigzagging, but hopefully they kind of sort of go back to a straight path. We hope.
Right, right. So I want to wrap up, Aisha, with giving you a space to share about your business and how people can connect with your services and so forth.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. So, start in the beginning is a labor of love for us. It's hard for me to call it a business, but it's a family, it's an academy, it's a place where one feels a sense of belonging and trust. But more importantly, the coaching that we provide truly helps to transform people's lives. Again, through the coaching, we realize that a lot of the barriers to speaking and communication and showing up in the fullness of yourself and with full confidence in your ideas and thoughts comes from a lack of knowing oneself. And we all take this for granted. We think we really know who we are and what we bring to the table as value, but we help people actually unpack all of that as sort of a step one. And for those of us who know and already feel like we're pretty strong in that area, we focus on how do you deliver messages in a way that is compelling. And so we work on both the speaking aspect of it, but also the message crafting so that you can show up at any panel discussion, any speaking engagement on your digital content, across all the platforms as the most full version, but also impactful version of yourself, because it's important for your message to resonate with your listener. So that's what we do at SITB, and we are extremely proud of that work.
And how do we find you online?
Sure. There's a few ways. We have our website. Please check it out at www.sitbstudio.com. That's SITB, then the word studio.com. We're also on Instagram at SITB Studio. We are on Facebook at SITB Studio 1. Hopefully we can provide either links or write this down somewhere for folks to be able to hit that follow button. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. So please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn there. And we can also share our business page on LinkedIn, which is SITB.
We appreciate your time with us today, Ms. Lee.
Which I think, by the way, as a sidebar, is another hold off from my culture. We don't change our last name from our culture. When we come here in the United States, a lot of us do take on our husband's last name, but we carry on our last names in my culture. So my mother is Sidibe, that's her maiden name, and my great grandmother is Gay, that's her maiden name.
Really?
So I think it's a cute little beautiful part that we're able to maintain that part of our identities if we so choose.
Yes, that's awesome. That's beautiful. I didn't know that. Right. No, thanks for sharing. Nice tidbit there. But thank you so much, Aicha. I've enjoyed listening to you, and thank you for spending some time here and adding your immigrant story to our Human Immigrant Library.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the thoughtful questions and the insightful conversation. I learned from this as well. And I thank you for having this beautiful platform for all of us to learn and grow from one another.
Thank you so much. Friends, as always, please subscribe, comment, and share if you enjoyed this interview. If you're passionate about telling immigrant stories, our team is looking for help. If you're willing to help with podcast production, social media, or Patreon management, please reach out to us. You can also donate on our Patreon if it's easier for you. All the links are in the description below. Thank you. We thank our listeners around the world, and we appreciate your continued support as we build our human library. Please remember to give us a 5-star review, subscribe, and share with your friends, family, and circle of influence.